Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.
You know, although I know a lot of people love neutral colors, like myself, but if somebody outright comes up to me and says, my favorite color is brown, I feel like that's kind of...
You think that they have a bland character, that they're stale as a person, they don't have really good taste.
I'd be suspicious.
Oh, okay. Brown...
What do you mean my favorite color is brown?
Brown means... What does it mean?
I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but have you ever met anybody who outright said, my favorite color is brown?
Not necessarily, but there are times when I'm like customizing a character in a game and I put maybe like a brown trim or color on the armor.
I'm not talking about
that. That kind of looks good.
Again, I also love neutral colors. I tend to gravitate towards them as well. Like, they're lovely colors, grays and beiges and creams and whites and blacks. They're lovely colors.
Okay.
But just somebody outright saying, my favorite color is brown, I feel like they cannot be trusted.
Now you're attacking an entire group of people who like that particular color.
I don't think they
What if
exist.
I secretly like brown, but I feel to protect our friendship, I would not admit?
Well, Mikhail, too bad, I guess.
Oh, man.
You know, okay, here's the thing. You know this, that I usually have some sort of hill that I'm willing to die on.
And brown color is one of them.
This is one of them. Again, I'm not saying brown isn't a great color. I love the color brown.
Okay, what if I say I don't like people who like pink color?
That's just weird. Pink is, objectively speaking, is a great color.
Okay, easy.
I'm just saying.
Okay, let's
Objectively speaking, it's a nice color.
let's agree to disagree. How about that?
Too bad and too late. But I'm just saying, it's just, I've never met somebody. I'm not saying I am the monolith.
This is like the new level of I don't like this person. Oh, they're a Leo. They're Virgo. Oh, I wouldn't.
That for me, those are Aquariuses. I tend to, again, my best friends are Aquariuses, but
My sister's an Aquarius.
I know.
Hopefully she's not tuning in.
Heda, I'm really sorry, but Aquariuses get on my nerves.
She's
too
very
much.
protective of that zodiac.
I know.
She's proud of it.
I know. A lot of Aquariuses are, but honestly, I'm trying to think of the phrase in English, but in Arabic, it literally means they're stuck in my throat.
Oh my God.
I love them.
What about Scorpio? I'm a Scorpio. Hopefully I don't give you too much trouble.
Anyway, so today on the show, we're going to be talking about, you have a review to talk about?
Yes, I do.
You do have a game review.
Nice segue on that. Yeah, so I'm reviewing today Inscription. It is a psychological horror deck builder roguelike adventure game. Been playing it for the last 2 weeks. It just came out on October 8th, and I'm absolutely in love with this game, and I want to tell you a bit why you should be playing this as your next video game in your wish list. Also, we got some movie updates. Dune apparently is actually going to happen. This is a big deal. The sequel to Dune.
Exactly. And we kind of speculated it, but then they were being just weird and pretending like it probably won't happen for a while, but we finally got the official release date. Probably they were waiting for the official release in the States because the movie just premiered last weekend in the United States, even though the rest of the world had it. I mean, we did review it. If you want to check out our review of Dune, just search up Afternoon Karak on wherever you listen to podcasts, and that includes Spotify and Rami, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. Just search up Afternoon Karak Dune review and you will find it. And to add to it as well, why not check out our video? Go on YouTube and search up Pulse 95 Radio and then add Afternoon Karak Dune review and you will find it over there. We're also going to be talking about love persevering. Last time we spoke about a man who loved his wife so much that he honored her, I'd say, aesthetics, where she wanted the house to always face the sun. So he made a mobile house that turns around wherever the sun is. Meanwhile, this Indian couple, they wanted to show how much they wanted to be with each other to the extent that they floated to their wedding. What does that mean? Well, you can find out when you tune into the Afternoon Karak.
Yes, be sure to tune in for that and so much more, because you know what day it is.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Is it an epic or epic failure? The The Big Review. Movies, games, and TV in focus.
Pulse 95.
Here's the thing. We're not saying that this is something that does not happen within the world of video games, but you cannot deny that a board game / card game hybrid in a video game is kind of a niche, and it just happens to be two of Mikhail's interests, and he somehow found this game called Inscription, and he's been kind of hyping it up since last week. We were gonna have the review last Thursday, but then we forgot that the day was off, and we are back here to talk all about it. And Mikhail has been basically, even yesterday when we were done with the show, barely 2 minutes after we were done, I see him. He's already pulled up his laptop and he's back on the game. And I was like, when did that happen? We barely just logged out and left the room for Big House and Alice Cofield from Yalla Home. What is going on? And that is how much he is enjoying and is in love with this game.
Inscription is so captivating. So what is Inscription? Inscription is a psychological horror card deck builder escape room puzzle game.
Wow.
It's a mouthful.
Lots of things.
And that's the best part about it, is that it takes a lot of elements from all sorts of very popular genres and creates a very deeply strategic and enjoyable card battle game experience. So, what is Inscription all about? You play as a person who finds themselves trapped in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. The place is dimly lit. It's mostly dark. You can't really see things, but you can actually walk around the cabin and interact with certain items and objects. But across the room in the cabin, there's a table, and standing on the opposite side of the table is a mysterious stranger who will not let you leave the cabin, is actually forcing you to play an adventure role-playing game with him. And if you lose, you will unwillingly give him your soul.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I am so into this, right? And in the beginning, this is probably the first time I got introduced to what we call a CCG, a collectible card game. Mm-hmm. Something like similar to Magic or Hearthstone. Yeah. But it's a lot more streamlined. It's a lot more condensed. But there's still so much complexity in it. So you're given a deck of cards, and the cards are comprised of different kins of animals like wolves and insects and even submarine animals. And each of them have a certain amount of health, a certain amount of damage, even special effects. There's a whole appendix for some of the stuff that you have to try to memorize. And so the game is that you have to go through this sort of like roguelike adventure, right, where every scenario is procedurally generated, and then you go into battles using those cards, those animal cards, to try to beat the stranger. But slowly, as you try to push through the adventure, things get extremely bizarre, and some of that psychological horror element also comes in because the cards start talking to you and telling you you need to find a way to escape this place. Because apparently, it seems that there's been many victims who have unfortunately failed at winning against this role-playing game. And the mysterious stranger does this thing where whenever you get into a part of the adventure, he starts putting different masks and he starts role-playing. It's almost like he's a Dungeon and Dragon, Dungeon Master, something like that. And he narrates the entire adventure as you go along. And sometimes he almost breaks the rule when you feel like you're succeeding in a challenge or something where you're like, I just resolved that. He changes it up a bit. And it's like, oh no. So I love that it's constantly evolving in terms of challenge. It's scaling to as you learn how to use certain cards and how to exploit certain techniques. And he notices that. And just when you feel like you're getting good at the game, he does something so surprising, so devilishly clever. And so eventually, sooner or later, no matter what, the game is designed for you to fail as much as you try to push. But that's part of the game, and it's compared to Hades. Hades is a roguelike adventure where every time you die, you either die with new knowledge, new type of skills, you inherit sort of a new strategy, and in this game, every time you can always step out of the table from the card game and walk around the cabin, because the cabin has certain puzzles, where if you talk to the right card or you find the right hint during the battle, you could actually solve these puzzles, and they will help you they'll get you closer to being able to escape this cabin. And just when you feel like you're progressing, something's totally unexpected happens. So this game is so surprising. It is so atmospheric. It's deeply complex and also surprisingly strategic. And honestly, I've been playing it for hours straight, and it is an absolute blast. It takes the best parts of a roguelike, a card collectible game, an escape room puzzle game, and they put it all together for this phenomenal experience. So in my opinion, my final verdict for Inscription is a solid 9 out of 10. This is one of the better indie games of this year.
Wow.
It's only available on Steam on PC, but I highly recommend, especially if you love card collectible games.
Yeah.
This is the kind of game you have to try out because it really separates itself from everything out there. So again, check out Inscription. Highly recommend it.
I think that we've been seeing a new trend, especially within the indie games and indie world, and that is the most successful and most surprisingly successful and popular games are the ones that are very intuitive, and that just shows you the new added layers of when those game developers, when they think of those games, it's not as streamlined as it gives off. I mean, like you said, Hades, Inscription, they have a very basic goal, you can say, which is escape.
Yeah.
But how do you escape, and how complicated this escape is just what adds to that game and makes it more interesting and makes it, sets it apart from other games. This is Mikhail's review of Inscription. Like he said, it's available on Steam on PC, which means that I cannot play it, but that is okay. If you have a PC computer,
we're gonna make you play it.
I have no idea how you're going to do it unless you're going to buy me a PC setup. I don't know if you're capable of doing that. I mean,
we'll make it work.
Like, Mikhail's not that far, but we are going to play it somehow.
I'm gonna find an old Chromebook that I have.
Oh, wow.
Dusted out of the.
You think you can handle it?
It's a very simple. It's like it can run on a potato, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
it's a very simple
is.
game. Doesn't use a lot of graphical performance. It has that CG inky style to it.
I did see, again, when I passed by you yesterday, you were very busy playing. I just passed by you, and it looked very interesting and very well made. Let's go on to BlizzardCon. BlizzCon 2022 is going to be canceled to prioritize supporting their team. Is it a gimmick, or are they actually sincere? Let's talk about it coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Pulse 95.
If you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago, Blizzard and Activision was under fire because it got a big, massive lawsuit from the state of California for a lot of things that's been happening within that company, which includes harassment and sort of a threat culture that actually ended up with one of the employees basically killing themselves due to that environment. It's a very toxic environment. And there has been a stream of changes here and there. Not that a lot of people have been very positive about or have been receptive of, especially the latest one, which is changing one of Overwatch's characters, because the character is named after one of those problematic managers or people of power that were in Activision Blizzard, and they changed his name. People were like, really? This is where the bar is? This is how low it is? Do you think that this is exactly going to be what's going to erase that sort of toxic culture you created? And apparently they're going to continue with that, within that, I'd say, path, because BlizzCon, which is a well-known Blizzard convention, BlizzCon 2022, is going to be canceled according to the company.
So they said this planned BlizzCon online event has been cut at this time, as they say that Blizzard can now focus on supporting their teams and progressing development of their games and experiences. And despite this change, Blizzard also said that it will still be making announcements and updates for their games in the upcoming month, and that they hope with this time that they take when they cancel the event, that they will reimagine what a BlizzCon event of the future could possibly look like. But again, this is just, this is sort of like PR talk where, they know that their reputation has been severely damaged. There's still a lot of controversy in the company and outside. The fan base is furious in so many ways. So it's not the best time. It's not an appropriate time to have this BlizzCon convention, because I can imagine that it will just turn into a complete riot.
Oh, absolutely. Especially since, for one thing, is that they didn't really fire or dismiss a lot of those executives. Some of them just quit. And if you quit, you're just basically running away from something. I mean, obviously they are running away because their names were out there. Everybody knows that they were problematic and causing a lot of issues within Blizzard Activision. But beyond that, it's just everybody knows that when some scandal happens, somebody quitting is basically means that they still get the benefits of leaving a job, and they're not really ostracized. They willingly let go rather than fired and basically told off about their behavior. And the thing is, the reason why this is such a big thing, I mean, Activision and Blizzard's lawsuit, it's because it was sort of an open secret of what they were doing within the walls of Activision Blizzard. So they really need to uphold the entire company. And I feel like because the reason why we feel it's going to be a publicity stunt is because they're going to come back next year and be like, or the year after, and they're going to be like, look at us, we are back in you sort of Blizzard Activision. This is our comeback.
More progressive, more inclusive.
Exactly, all of that, and that's it. That's all it's going to be. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people also walked out within the developers groups and whatnot, because there were some walkouts in the sense that they were protesting this entire thing. But beyond that, we're not sure what's happening inside. They've been quite hush-hush. Unlike, for example, CD Projekt Red, where their employees were dragging them through the mud. I mean, so were Activision Blizzard, and we're not saying that they were quiet, but we don't really know what's been happening besides those people quitting, people getting dismissed, and those small changes within the game. So PR stunt or not, you can join in the conversation and tell us all about it. 4215 Etisalat or do. We'd love to know your opinion. And coming up next, we have a rumor that we're going to be getting a glimpse of Facebook's Oculus Pro coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor has it.
Rumor has it that there are leaked videos appearing to offer the first glimpse of Facebook's Oculus Pro.
Yeah, so this Oculus Pro VR headset there were videos and images that were pulled out from servers from Facebook. Obviously, you guys know that Facebook owns Oculus. They bought them back in 2012 through Kickstarter. But looking at some of the images, it looks like this is a completely different design to the Oculus Quest or the Oculus Rift, as you guys know. There's a CG image that shows off what appears to be a full body motion tracking technology. There's new Oculus touch style controllers without the rings. And there's a charging stock, as well as an app called Horizon Workrooms, where users will host meetings and use presentation tools like a 3D image of a building blueprints. So why is this leaked image? What does this imply? What could this lead more into? Well, if you guys know, recently Facebook has reportedly claimed that they are investing over $10 billion in something that they call the metaverse. And some people might not understand what the metaverse means, but it just means that it is a
virtual reality world, a virtual hub of today. And it's not only about games, but rather it will have things like business outlets, virtual meetings, and virtual connections through this so-called metaverse. And apparently we're also waiting for them to rebrand Facebook. They're going to call it something new, and even some of the higher ups at Facebook, they even know what the rebrand is going to be. So it's very hush-hush. But this Oculus Pro headset seems to be one part in this metaverse investment that Facebook is working on. And what is interesting about that is that they're basically saying that they're trying to make the Oculus sort of a household name, and it's not that it's just simply confined within the world of VR games only, but rather something that is more universal and that a lot of people can use, such as what was suggested with the sort of that virtual reality hub. But what is interesting is that the Facebook VP of Reality Labs, Andrew Bosworth, said in April, according to The Verge, that we're not going to be getting any sort of news coming within the world of the Oculus this year. So this could just be a render, and that is it's something they might be thinking of in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. We don't know that.
A pre-concept of some kind.
Exactly, sort of how we have patents, and that is it. There's nothing beyond that. So again, is there an actual Oculus Pro, or is it just an idea for the future? We don't know much, but we're going to find out eventually, whether it's in the next couple of months or a couple of years. We have the sports headlines. If you're interested in sports, make sure you're tuning in. But after that, we have some movie and TV updates. Bill Murray, Dune 2, Netflix, and Cowboy Bebop, and so much more right here on the Afternoon Karak.
This is Pulse 95. Not in the news?
Not in the news. Weirdness that happened
Today.
True story.
Okay, so I know that a lot of us have had those days where they're invited to something and they've accepted it. Could be months away. I mean, if it's a wedding or some kind of party, engagement party, a get-together that might be a little bit too big and a little bit requires a lot of social interactions. And back then, you were having a good mental health day, and you're like, I'm gonna be great. When is it? Within 3 weeks? Yeah, I'll be good. And then as the time approaches, you're like, you know what? I do not feel like going there anymore. And honestly, the story is the opposite of that. Not only because this Indian couple are the center of the actual event, which is their wedding, but honestly, I feel like maybe it would have been a godsend if the entire place flooded and I cannot get to my wedding venue anymore. I would think that perhaps this is, like a message from above telling me that, hey, Aisha, do not go to your wedding. I'm not saying leave the man hanging, because she did have her husband with her. But I mean, like, maybe do not have a whole party. But they took it as a challenge, because they said that we will get to the wedding in a massive cooking pot.
Now, I'm looking at the footage. It's pretty short. It's only 30 seconds. But it shows the Indian couple arriving to their wedding, basically sailing through the flooded streets of southern Kerala. As you guys know, parts of India, subcontinent countries, they suffer from a lot of like landslides and
monsoons.
Monsoons, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was unfortunate timing, but they made the best out of it. Floating in this big cooking pot and basically sailing all the way to the temple where they basically did their traditional wedding ceremonies, Hindu ceremonies. And it's just like, people have this obsession with wedding planning, and you got to wear the white dress. We got to have all this floral decoration. We got to put a life's worth of savings into it. But sometimes that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is, that moment where you get to celebrate something so beautiful and so personal. It shouldn't, all this other stuff is just extra,
If anything, this would be an amazing story for their children and grandchildren, telling them about how they, despite the flooding, they managed to get to their wedding venue and have the actual wedding ceremony. Because again, it wasn't only just about meeting the guests who happened to be there. Honestly, if there were any guests in the first place, good on them, because I have no idea. I don't know, maybe if you're very close to the bride and groom, maybe if you're their best friend, their siblings, I'd be like, yes, I'd make the effort to go through the flooded streets to get to their wedding. But if I'm like a second cousin, I'd be like, too bad, I guess. See you when you're back from your honeymoon. I'll congratulate you then. I'm not going to go to the wedding anymore. So this is their perseverance. And what I love about this video is that they're smiling throughout all of it. And they had to borrow this massive pot from a nearby temple. So shout out to that temple for being understanding and letting go of their pot, because what a lot of temples and a lot of places of worship do, even the masjids and churches, etc., what they do is sometimes they have some sort of communal dinners and lunches, and they need those pots. They need those utensils. So for them to give away something this big is really sweet of them and understanding of them.
If anything, this is a really cute lesson in the fact that love finds a way even in a flood.
Even in a flood. We're going to be taking a short break, and coming up next, guys, you want to win 10,000 dirhams? We'll tell you exactly how you can manage to do that. It's very easy. All you need is a drone. Coming up next, right here on the Afternoon Karak.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.